English Campfire.
You know, what if the most dangerous language barrier you can face is actually with someone who speaks your exact same language?
Oh, that is such a good question. Because usually, when you travel to a country where you don't speak the native tongue, your mental firewall is just completely up.
Right, yeah. You download the translation apps, you brace for confusion, you're like hyper-analyzing every single hand gesture.
Exactly. You know you're navigating foreign territory, but when you travel somewhere they supposedly speak your native language, you just drop that firewall entirely.
You really do. You walk in with this profound sense of, like, linguistic complacency.
And that is precisely when the trap snaps shut.
Yeah. Which brings us to today's deep dive. This one is for you, the listener who thinks fluency in a language means you actually understand what people are saying.
Yeah.
We are following this really incredible, funny journey of an Indian-American marketing consultant named Priya.
Right, and she is visiting her company's London office for the very first time.
And Priya's trip serves as this fascinating case study in the illusion of a shared language. Because we operate on this flawed assumption that English is just a monolith, you know.
We do. We assume that because two people share vocabulary, the communication is just this seamless one-to-one transfer of data. But the reality is that words are really just the surface layer.
Just answer the expert.
Exactly. Beneath them is this massive, invisible operating system built on cultural nuances, historical habits of directness, and vastly different physical realities.
Okay, let's unpack this. And I want to start right at the arrivals gate at the airport.
Oh, perfect place to start.
Because the physical state Priya is in when she lands, it's a perfect mirror for the cognitive dissonance she's about to face. So she touches down at Heathrow at 6:47 a.m.
Brutal.
Yeah, and she's managed to get maybe 90 minutes of sleep on the flight over.
Which means she is stepping into this new environment with her cognitive resources completely depleted. I mean, crossing 8 time zones just shatters your circadian rhythm.
Oh, absolutely. Your body thinks it's 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. at the same time.
Right, leaving your brain scrambling to process even basic stimuli. So she is already super vulnerable. She grabs her bags, climbs into a taxi, and gives the driver the address for her corporate housing.
And the driver casually mentions, he says, your flat is just off Kensington High Street.
And right there, minute 1, the illusion cracks.
Yep. Priya pauses, completely confused, and asks, my apartment.
And the driver just looks at her like she's crazy and says, flat, same thing.
It seems so minor, but it's such a great analogy. For you listening, traveling to a country that supposedly speaks your language is like downloading an app update, where the interface looks exactly the same, but all the buttons do completely different things.
That is a brilliant way to put it. This interaction really sets the baseline for the entire week, because in British English, a flat refers to a self-contained set of rooms on one floor of a building. It's the exact physical equivalent of an apartment. But for Priya, this requires a sudden, totally unexpected background translation process. Her brain is forced to manually override a deeply ingrained reflex.
And the taxi driver actually jokes that she'll need a translator, which I love. He zeroes right in on the fact that British and American daily realities are just coded differently.
They really are. The physical infrastructure of daily life is where you first notice this divergence. Priya immediately encounters this relentless stream of localized terms.
Like suddenly an elevator isn't an elevator.
Exactly. She has to remember it's a lift. And when she needs to take the subway, she's looking for the underground or the tube.
Right, and a truck is a lorry.
Yes, a lorry. The highway is a motorway. The trunk of a car is a boot, mail is post, a pharmacy is a chemist, and trash is rubbish.
It's just endless. The cognitive load of that is immense.
It really is. You aren't just learning new vocabulary. You are actively suppressing your native vocabulary in real time while trying to function professionally.
You're essentially running like a language emulator in your brain.
Yeah, perfectly said.
But, surviving the streets of London is one thing. Navigating the social landscape inside a corporate office requires an entirely different level of processing.
Oh, without a doubt.
Let's move into that branch office. It's an intimate team, about 15 people. Priya meets her British counterpart, James, and his immediate greeting is to tell her the team is absolutely chuffed to have her.
Chuffed. It's a remarkably distinct piece of British vocabulary. Priya has to stand there, run the mental translation. Okay, chuffed means pleased or happy. And then try to respond appropriately.
Right, so she makes her way up to the 3rd floor. James introduces her to the room, and someone at the table simply responds with, brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
And I actually have to pause on the word brilliant, because to an American ear, this word carries immense weight.
It really does.
We reserve brilliant for sheer genius. Like a groundbreaking scientific discovery is brilliant. Albert Einstein is brilliant. So my question is, are British people just constantly walking around in a state of absolute amazement, or is this word severely watered down?
What's fascinating here is the sheer elasticity of British descriptors compared to American ones. In the UK, brilliant is the ultimate multi-tool of conversational filler.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it can certainly mean excellent or genius, but it is deployed so casually that it frequently just means, I acknowledge what you said and I am pleased.
Okay, so it's the equivalent of an American nodding and saying awesome
Yeah,
when someone hands them a receipt.
precisely. Or cool. It's just an atmospheric positivity.
Interesting. And Priya finds herself just swimming in this atmosphere.
She does. She notices people who are tired are knackered. The sneakers people commute in are trainers, and the verb fancy is used for everything from wanting a cup of coffee to finding someone attractive to describing an elaborate object.
The vocabulary is incredibly versatile.
Extremely versatile. But the real challenge for Priya isn't the positive adjectives. It's the team's assumption that she understands the mechanics of British teasing.
Ah, yes.
The moment she starts asking questions, the team assumes she is taking the mickey.
Taking the mickey. Now, to an uninitiated American, that sounds slightly confrontational, almost like an accusation of theft or some kind of foul play.
Right, it sounds suspicious. The phrase likely stems from Cockney rhyming slang, taking the mickey bliss, which rhymes with taking the piss, meaning to mock or tease.
Oh, I had no idea about the origin.
Yeah, it's fascinating. But its function in the British workplace is what really matters here. In American corporate culture, teasing a brand new visiting colleague on their very first morning would probably trigger a meeting with HR.
Oh, yeah. It reads as highly aggressive and unprofessional.
Exactly. But in the British office ecosystem, taking the mickey is a foundational bonding mechanism. Gentle, affectionate mocking is literally how they drop stiff formalities and build trust.
So it functions as a sort of social stress test.
Yes.
They're throwing a soft punch to see if you can roll with it.
Yeah.
And if you can handle the banter, you're integrated into the group.
That's exactly it.
And Priya's stress test didn't arrive in an email. It arrived on a plate in the middle of a conference table.
Ah, the infamous biscuit incident.
Right. So if the office banter was an abstract challenge, this was a tangible, physical reality glitch. A plate of snacks is placed on the table. Priya looks at them and, using her perfectly functional American eyes, sees cookies.
Of course she does.
So she points and asks, "Oh, are these cookies?" James looks at her with genuine pain and insists they are biscuits.
Which prompts someone else in the room to mutter that she must be taking the mickey.
Right. They assume she is initiating some playful cross-cultural banter.
But she isn't playing. She's experiencing a legitimate crisis of categorization.
Yes. And for you listening, imagine ordering a pizza, and the waiter brings you a pie crust covered in blueberries. The word is the same, but the culinary expectation is wildly different.
That is a perfect analogy because the factual differences are stark. An American biscuit is a soft, fluffy, buttery bread usually served with gravy or butter.
Savory comfort food.
Exactly, whereas a British biscuit is a small, flat, sweet-baked snack, what Americans call a cookie.
And honestly, this is the most jarring type of language gap. When a word is identical, but the physical object it represents is completely different.
It really is. You're dealing with an overwritten variable in your mental code. James eventually relents and hands her a chocolate digestive, which, by the way, she admits is excellent.
I mean, they are delicious.
They are. And the stakes here are low, right? It ultimately ends in a shared snack. But that false sense of security sets Priya up for a massive collision later that afternoon.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because laughing over baked goods is one thing, but applying that same linguistic complacency to high-stakes business operations, that can genuinely derail entire projects.
Oh, easily.
So during a strategy meeting, James decides the current discussion isn't really productive. He tells the room, "I think we should table this proposal until we have more data."
And Priya, being a diligent consultant, nods and writes down in her notes, "Moving forward, yeah." She later calls her manager in New York to give a status update. She reports that the London team is moving forward with the proposal. Her manager is completely bewildered and says, "Wait, James tabled it, so they're postponing."
And Priya insists, no, They tabled it. They're doing it.
Exactly.
The resulting silence on that phone call must have been deafening as she realized what had just happened.
Total panic. She realizes she has to hang up and make an incredibly awkward clarification call to James to figure out the actual status of this project.
Which begs the question, how many international business deals have fallen apart simply because one side thought they were hitting the brakes and the other side thought they were hitting the gas?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the phrase "to table" is perhaps the most notorious and dangerous trap in cross-cultural business communication.
Really?
Yes, it has completely opposite meanings depending on the side of the Atlantic you're standing on, and it all traces back to parliamentary history.
Wait, really? History?
Yeah. In the United States Congress, if a bill is laid on the table, it is physically set aside to be ignored or postponed indefinitely.
So it's dead in the water.
Exactly. You're removing it from the active desk space. But in the British Parliament, to bring something to the table means to lay it out for immediate active debate. You are bringing it to the forefront.
Wow. So an American hears table and stops. A Brit hears table and goes.
Precisely. In cross-cultural settings, a misunderstanding like this doesn't mean either side is wrong. It simply means two different frameworks of communication have collided unprepared.
Think about the collateral damage of that single phrase.
Yeah.
Two highly educated professionals sitting in the same room, speaking the same language, nodding in total agreement, while walking away with two entirely incompatible realities.
It perfectly illustrates the danger of overlapping communication frameworks. And it also highlights a critical administrative divergence Priya runs into later in the week.
Oh, right, the booking issue.
Yes. She discovers she has conflated a reservation with a booking. In the American framework, a reservation is a somewhat firm hold, but a booking feels more like a locked-in transaction, usually involving money up front.
Right, like booking a flight.
Exactly. But in the UK office, the booking of the meeting room is the absolute unquestionable administrative law. Misinterpreting these logistical terms creates this ripple effect of inefficiency. When frameworks collide like this, neither party is linguistically wrong, but both are functionally lost.
So what does this all mean? The only safeguard is dismantling your assumptions. You have to endure the awkwardness of over-communicating.
You really do.
You have to ask, when you say table, do you mean pause or proceed?
Yeah.
Because handling the logistics of a business is complex enough, but handling the inevitable frustration when those logistics fail introduces us to the final boss of British culture, negative emotion.
Oh, this is my favorite part. The delivery incident on Thursday perfectly captures this. So a vendor drops off the wrong equipment for a major presentation. It is a genuine operational failure.
High stress.
Very high stress. James is standing in the hallway, his arms crossed tightly over his chest, and he announces to the team, "I am quite cross about this."
Quite cross. Priya has absolutely no metrics for this.
None.
She has to physically lean over to her new British work friend, Sophie, and whisper, how cross are we talking? Is he going to fire the vendor, or is he just going to sigh heavily?
And Sophie considers the situation and tells Priya that James's anger sits somewhere between noting it in a log and perhaps bringing it up later.
I mean, in America, if we're upset, we just directly say, I'm furious, or this is totally unacceptable. The directness is the point.
Exactly. We are entering the realm of British understatement, which is heavily tied to historical stoicism. In American corporate culture, negative emotions are usually broadcast with clear, escalating vocabulary.
The volume of the emotion matches the volume of the language.
Exactly. But the British approach to conflict often utilizes a dampening effect. The word cross technically means angry or irritated. However, due to the cultural instinct to understate discomfort, quite cross operates on a massive sliding scale.
So it could mean anything.
Anything. A person can be quite cross that their tea is cold, or quite cross that the company is going bankrupt. You cannot rely on the vocabulary alone. You have to read the micro expressions, the posture, and the broader context to understand the actual severity of the crisis.
You essentially need a localized cultural guide like Sophie just to decode the unwritten rules, because you can't observe a sliding scale of understatement from a dictionary.
You really can't. But by Friday evening at the traditional leaving drinks, Priya has really run the gauntlet.
She survived.
She did. She collected all these new words. She learned the hard way about biscuits, tabling, and crossness. She rewired her brain to say queue instead of line and lift instead of elevator.
But more importantly, she adapted to the social rhythm. James raises a glass to her and says it was brilliant having her, adding affectionately that she is cheeky, but we like that.
And cheeky is the perfect word to encapsulate her successful integration.
How so?
Well, it means playfully bold, slightly impudent, or irreverent. A cheeky comment pushes the boundaries of politeness, but does so with a knowing, good-natured smile. It ties directly back to taking the mickey. By calling her cheeky, James is acknowledging that she successfully navigated the stress test of British banter. She passed.
And she didn't let the friction of the language barrier turn into actual workplace friction. She really leaned into the absurdity of it. When Priya raises her own glass and tells the room she learned more English this week than she did in her entire schooling, James calls it quite brilliant.
Which proves the power of humor here. Their mutual willingness to laugh at their differences became their actual shared language.
It's a synthesis of the entire experience. Priya's week proves that a dictionary is not enough to truly understand someone.
No, because language does not exist in a vacuum. It is hopelessly entangled with corporate culture, local bakeries, historical understatement, and parliamentary traditions. You cannot divorce the word from the world that built it.
Which brings us back to that false sense of security we talked about at the beginning. Looking at a map of English-speaking countries is like looking at a topographical map that only shows the peaks of the mountains, but completely hides the depth of the valleys.
That's a great way to look at it. You think you know how to hike the terrain, but the map is lying by omission.
Exactly. It hides the fact that the gravity works differently in each location.
Right.
And that leaves us with a rather profound thought for you to carry forward today. If Priya can experience such intense, confusing, and borderline disastrous misunderstandings with colleagues who natively speak her exact same language, how much nuance, intent, and meaning are we missing when we communicate with people who are translating their thoughts from a completely different mother tongue?
It's staggering to think about.
What invisible tables and biscuits are secretly tripping you up in your everyday conversations? Keep your firewall up, even when the words sound perfectly familiar. You might just need a translator for the person sitting right next to you.